I'm so proud of it. When you go to a classical concert, you look at the program, who's coming, who's playing, which symphony. In my case, they don't know, and I don't tell them.
For decades, Andre Rieu has captivated millions with his charm, energy, and unforgettable performances. But lately, troubling signs have left fans deeply concerned. Recent developments and growing speculation have sparked fears that all may not be well with the beloved maestro. As questions swirl and supporters anxiously await answers, many are wondering just how serious the situation really is. But is this merely a temporary setback, or could something far more alarming be unfolding behind the scenes? What is the real truth about Andre Rieu's health, and why are fans becoming increasingly worried? Andre Rieu's magical musical journey. Most classical concerts are built on structure and certainty. From the moment you open the program sheet, the entire evening is already mapped out. You see the list of symphonies, the names of the composers, the conductor, and the soloists. Everything is arranged in advance, like a well-marked road. The audience knows exactly what will happen next, step by step. This order brings comfort and calm, but it also quietly limits something important: surprise. There is very little room for unexpected moments, sudden laughter, or the kind of wonder that stays in your memory long after the music ends. Then came Andre Rieu, who chose to break away from that tradition in a bold and refreshing way. From the earliest days of his career, he refused to treat concerts as formal gatherings where people simply sit still and listen in silence. Instead, he created something far more alive and open. A ticket to his concert is not just access to music, it is entry into a full experience. The audience steps into a world filled with emotion, color, movement, and shared human warmth. Nothing feels fully predictable. You sense that anything can happen at any moment, and that is part of the magic. One thing, however, is always certain. No one leaves the same way they came in. For Andre Rieu, music was never meant to feel distant, cold, or overly technical. He never believed it should be about who plays the fastest notes or who performs with perfect precision alone. To him, music is deeply human. It is about feelings that are too deep for words, emotions that can only be expressed through sound, rhythm, and melody. His goal has always been simple yet powerful: to turn a concert hall into a place where people feel connected, where strangers begin to feel like friends, and where, for a few hours, differences fade away. Inside his concerts, something beautiful often unfolds naturally. People laugh without holding back. Some are quietly moved to tears without feeling embarrassed. Others find themselves singing or clapping along without planning to. The music breaks invisible walls, walls of language, age, culture, and background. It creates a shared space where hearts respond together. This unique atmosphere is what slowly transformed him from a talented violinist into a worldwide sensation, earning him the beloved title, the Waltz King. But behind the glittering stages, the joyful crowds, and the unforgettable performances lies a much deeper journey that many do not see. It is a story shaped by long years of discipline, personal sacrifice, and a dream that once seemed too large to be realistic. He built a career that reached heights few musicians ever experience, gaining not only fame, but also remarkable success across the world. Yet even more striking than the success itself is what it means to him personally. His journey is tied closely to family, memory, and legacy, things that stir emotions deeper than applause. At times, even those closest to him are moved to tears, not from sorrow, but from the overwhelming feeling of how far a simple dream has grown. And beneath all the music, celebration, and shining success, there remains a quiet truth that continues to surprise even his most loyal fans. What the audience sees on stage is only the surface. The real story always runs much deeper. So, what has Andre Rieu been going through recently? How serious could his health have deteriorated? When did he first experience his recent health challenge? Let's find out. Andre Rieu's health scares explained. Fans of Andre Rieu were left deeply disappointed when the world-famous violinist and his cherished Johann Strauss Orchestra had to cancel 4 much-awaited concerts in Mexico at the end of March 2024. These shows had been planned with great excitement, and many fans had already made travel plans, bought tickets, and waited eagerly for months. The sudden cancellation was therefore painful and unexpected. According to his son, Andre Rieu, the decision was not made lightly, but it was the only responsible choice under the circumstances. The journey to Mexico had turned out to be far more exhausting than anyone had predicted. Traveling from Europe to Mexico City requires a very long flight of about 14 hours, followed by a major time shift of 7 hours. On top of that, Mexico City sits at a very high altitude, over 2,200 meters above sea level, which can make breathing and physical adjustment more difficult, even for healthy travelers. Andre Rieu also had only a single day to rest and adapt after arriving. Unfortunately, during this short adjustment period, he was struck by a strong flu infection that quickly drained his energy. Andre Rieu explained that all these factors combined created an overwhelming situation. The long flight, the sudden change in time zone, the high altitude, and the illness all came together at once, leaving his father in no condition to perform. "My father had no option but to return home," he said. The decision meant not only disappointment for thousands of fans, but also heartbreak for the musicians, technical crew, and organizers who had spent months carefully preparing every detail of the concerts. After returning home, Andre Rieu was quite unwell for several days. The illness forced him to rest completely, away from rehearsals and performances. Thankfully, his condition gradually improved. Within about a week, he began to regain his strength, and soon after, he was back to his usual lively and passionate self. Although the recovery brought relief, the entire experience became a serious moment of reflection for both Andre and his team. Following this incident, the Rieu organization began to rethink how future tours should be planned, especially those involving long-distance travel. More time will now be allowed for rest, recovery, and proper adjustment before performances. If the canceled Mexico concerts are rescheduled, they are unlikely to happen before 2025, giving everyone enough time to prepare properly. Other planned destinations are also being carefully reviewed. For example, future trips to countries like Chile are still being considered for September, but with more caution in scheduling and logistics. Some destinations, however, may now be too demanding. Australia is one such example. Pierre openly admitted that the long travel time, nearly 24 hours in the air, combined with a large time difference, may no longer be suitable. He also pointed out that even young people find such journeys exhausting, so it becomes even more challenging for someone in his father's mid-70s who must still perform at a high level on stage. While some people compare touring musicians to Formula One drivers because of their constant travel, Pierre disagreed with this idea. He noted that most athletes in such comparisons are far younger and not required to perform emotionally demanding concerts after long journeys. Despite the setback and health scare, Andre Rieu remained committed to his music. Soon after recovering, he returned to the stage with renewed gratitude. His next concerts were scheduled in the United Kingdom, including Liverpool, Sheffield, and Glasgow. With experience as his guide, he continued his journey, more careful, more prepared, and still deeply passionate about bringing music to audiences around the world. Did Andre Rieu face any serious health challenges before the most recent one? What was his experience like? Let's take a deeper look at Andre Rieu's health wake-up call and the lifestyle changes behind his endurance. How illness reshaped Andre Rieu. Andre Rieu, the world-renowned Dutch violinist and conductor, experienced a powerful turning point in his life that he describes as a true wake-up call. For many years, he thrilled audiences across the globe with his Johann Strauss Orchestra, performing in grand concerts filled with music, energy, and emotion. From the outside, it often looked like a life of pure joy and endless travel. But behind the scenes, The constant pressure of touring began to take a serious toll on his health. The warning signs became impossible to ignore when Rieu had to cancel several concerts on 2 different occasions due to illness. For a performer whose life is built around live appearances and tight schedules, these cancellations were not just disappointing, they were alarming. They forced him to confront a difficult truth. His body could no longer keep up with the demands he had placed on it without proper care and preparation. Rieu later admitted that he had once depended heavily on natural energy and youthful strength. Like many busy performers, he pushed forward without paying close attention to long-term health habits. But after these health setbacks, he realized that passion alone was not enough to sustain such an intense lifestyle. Something needed to change if he wanted to continue performing at the highest level for years to come. This realization led him to make a firm decision. He began working with a personal trainer who helped him build a more structured and balanced routine. Instead of relying on chance or occasional effort, he introduced regular exercise into his life. His diet was also reviewed and improved, with greater attention given to healthier choices that could support his demanding schedule. These changes were not quick fixes, but long-term adjustments aimed at building strength and stability. Life on tour, as Rieu explained, is far more exhausting than it appears on stage. It involves constant travel, changing environments, irregular schedules, and back-to-back performances. There is often very little time for the body to fully rest and recover. With this in mind, he became more intentional about protecting his energy and managing his workload wisely. Another important shift in his lifestyle was his new respect for rest. Sleep, recovery, and preparation became essential parts of his daily routine. He learned that without proper rest, even talent and experience could not fully carry him through demanding performances. Emotional balance also became important, especially when performing in front of large international audiences who expect excellence every time. Looking back, Rieu sees this experience as a defining moment in his life. It changed the way he thinks about success, discipline, and health. He still loves music deeply and remains committed to his art, but now he understands that maintaining his body is just as important as mastering his violin. In the end, his wake-up call did not slow him down. It strengthened him. It taught him that long-lasting success requires care, discipline, and respect for one's health, ensuring he can continue sharing his music with the world for many more years. What was Andre Rieu's early life like? Did he have the passion for music from his childhood? Let's delve into the details of how a small Dutch boy with a violin grew into the world's uncrowned king of waltzes. From Maastricht to global glory. Long before the roaring applause, packed concert halls, and international success that made him famous, Andre Rieu was just a young boy growing up in the calm and charming Dutch city of Maastricht. His surroundings were peaceful, but inside the Rieu home, music filled every corner and specially shaped daily life. Music was never treated as an occasional hobby. It was part of the family's routine. Andre's father was the conductor of the local symphony orchestra, which meant rehearsals, melodies, and discussions about music were as common as breakfast and evening conversations. Sheet music, violins, and beautiful sounds created an atmosphere that inspired him from a very young age. Unlike many boys who dreamed of becoming football stars, pilots, or famous actors, Andre's dreams were different. He wasn't chasing glory or fame. Deep in his heart, he had a simple but powerful wish to touch lives, bring smiles, and fill people's hearts with joy through the magic of music. As the years passed, that dream only grew stronger. His love for music led him to the highly respected Royal Conservatory of Brussels, where he studied with great dedication and graduated with top honors. To everyone around him, his future seemed obvious. Like countless classical musicians before him, he was expected to join established orchestras and follow the traditions that had guided classical music for generations. But Andre saw things differently. He believed music was meant to touch hearts, not just impress minds. In his eyes, concerts should not feel cold, serious, or distant. He wanted people to laugh, smile, clap, and even shed tears of joy. He wanted audiences to feel alive, not simply sit in silence. Many people thought such ideas were unrealistic. Yet, in 1987, Andre made a daring move that would change his life forever. With only 12 musicians beside him, he founded the Johann Strauss Orchestra. Critics were skeptical. Some believed his dream would never work. But Andre had a vision that others could not yet see. From the very beginning, his concerts broke the rules of traditional classical performances. Gone were the stiff and formal evenings where audiences sat quietly. Instead, people found themselves swept into an unforgettable celebration filled with warmth, humor, emotion, and energy. They laughed openly, clapped with excitement, and even danced in their seats. For many, it was the first time classical music truly felt alive. Then came the breakthrough no one expected. In 1995, during halftime at a football match, Andre took a gamble. He purchased just 60 seconds of television time and performed Shostakovich's Second Waltz. It was brief, simple, and completely unexpected, but it touched millions. That single minute changed everything. Almost overnight, album sales exploded into the hundreds of thousands. Soon, the musician who had once been doubted was becoming a global sensation. His concerts began filling giant arenas across Europe, America, Asia, and Australia. The world had discovered what Andre had believed all along. That music, when filled with joy and shared from the heart, has the power to cross borders, unite people, and speak a language understood by everyone. What was growth like for Andre Rieu? Did he find it easy building his musical empire? Let's dive into the details of how Andre Rieu create a fortune by breaking every rule. From vision to musical empire. Success did not only bring applause and fame for Andre Rieu, it also gave him something far greater in scale, the ability to build a world of his own. Over time, he moved beyond being just a performer on stage and became a creator of an entire musical universe. Unlike many classical musicians who depended on governments, orchestras, or large cultural institutions to survive, Andre chose a different path. He decided to build everything himself. Step by step, he created a strong and independent system around his music. He set up recording studios where his works could be produced exactly the way he imagined them. He founded production companies to manage his shows. He built costume workshops where the beautiful outfits seen on stage were designed and made. He also created event companies and full touring operations that could move his orchestra from country to country with ease. As his dream grew, so did his team. At one point, more than 100 full-time workers depended directly on his organization. Many more people supported them in different ways across the world. His music was no longer just about performances. It had become a large living structure, involving many lives and many responsibilities. But what truly made his empire stand out was not only its size. It was the way people were treated inside it. Andre Rieu made sure that comfort and care were part of the system. Professional chefs prepared fresh meals for the team. Fitness trainers helped musicians stay healthy and strong during long tours. Special luxury buses were arranged to transport the orchestra safely and comfortably across different countries. Even families were considered. Young parents traveling with the orchestra could access private childcare support so they could focus on their performances without worry. To Andre, this was never just a business. It was not simply a machine built for profit or fame. In his eyes, it was a family, a group of people connected by music, trust, and shared purpose. Still, not everyone agreed with his style. Some critics said he made classical music too soft, too emotional, or too focused on entertainment. They believed he was changing a serious art form into something too commercial. But Andre never tried to defend himself in words. He simply continued doing what he believed in. His goal was never to impress experts or win academic approval. His goal was to make people feel joy, comfort, and happiness through music, and the audience responded strongly. Year after year, while many traditional orchestras struggled to survive, Andre's concerts attracted huge crowds and generated hundreds of millions of dollars. His name became one of the most successful in modern entertainment. Yet, even this great success was not without danger. At one point, he invested in a massive stage project built like a grand castle. It was so expensive that it almost pushed him into bankruptcy. For a moment, everything he had built seemed at risk of collapsing. But Andre did not give up. Through determination, hard work, and strong belief in his vision, he managed to recover. Slowly, he rebuilt stability. In the end, he came out of the crisis even stronger than before, carrying his dream forward with even greater confidence. How did success transform Andre Rieu? What did success help him achieve? Let's dig into the details of Andre Rieu's castle, childhood dream, and the violins worth millions. From dreams to devotion. Success gave Andre Rieu something far more special than fame, awards, or money. It gave him the rare chance to turn the dreams of his childhood into real experiences. For Andre, success was never only about becoming famous. It became a bridge connecting the boy he once was with the man he had become. Everything changed in 1999 when an unexpected phone call arrived. The news was extraordinary. Part of a beautiful 16th-century castle in Maastricht had become available for sale. For most people, such a decision would require endless discussions and careful calculations. But Andre did not need much time to think. To him, this was not just an old building with impressive walls and grand rooms. It was a place filled with memories. As a young boy, he had taken piano lessons inside that very castle. Those halls had witnessed some of his earliest steps into the world of music. The castle already held a special place in his heart long before he ever dreamed of owning it. There was another reason the opportunity felt magical. As a child, Andre had loved reading Tintin comic books. In those adventures, castles often appeared as places of wonder, mystery, and excitement. Without realizing it, those stories had planted a dream deep inside his imagination. Years later, life unexpectedly brought that dream back to him. When the opportunity finally came, it meant far more than simply buying a property. It felt like the fulfillment of a dream that had begun many years earlier. In September 1999, Andre Rieu became the owner of the castle he had admired since childhood. He carefully restored it, transforming it into a symbol of achievement, memories, music, and success. Yet for Andre, the castle itself was never his greatest treasure. Among his dearest possessions are his famous Stradivarius violins, masterpieces created centuries ago by the legendary craftsman Antonio Stradivari. These instruments are worth millions, and collectors around the world consider them priceless. But Andre sees them differently. To him, they are more than valuable objects. They are trusted companions that have shared countless concerts and unforgettable moments with him. He protects them carefully, travels with them like honored guests, and insures them for enormous sums. Still, their true value has nothing to do with money. That truth became clear during the difficult days of the pandemic. With concerts canceled and uncertainty surrounding his orchestra, Andre made a remarkable statement. He said that if necessary, he would sell his beloved Stradivarius violin to support his musicians, not because the instrument meant little to him, but because, in Andre Rieu's world, loyalty, friendship, and the joy of making music together will always be worth far more than even the most priceless treasure. What kind of life does Andre Rieu live outside the stage? What does his family life look like? Let's find out. A life of music, legacy, success, and culture. In 1975, he married Marjorie Kochman, a woman deeply rooted in education and language. She has worked as a language teacher for many years, helping students understand and appreciate the beauty of communication across cultures. Beyond teaching, she has also written compositions showing her own creative side and love for expression through words. Their marriage became a strong partnership built on shared values of learning, culture, and family life. Together, they have 2 sons. One of them, Pierre, has followed a creative path in the world of media and music production. He is especially known for working closely with the Johann Strauss Orchestra, contributing behind the scenes to performances that reach audiences across the world. Through Pierre's work, the family connection to music and performance continues into the next generation, blending tradition with modern artistic production. The family home is just as interesting as their story. He lives in a small castle located in Maastricht, a historic city known for its charm and old architecture. The castle itself carries a sense of mystery and history. It is believed, and he himself has claimed, that the building was once connected to Charles de Bat's Castle Mort d'Artagnan, the real-life inspiration behind the famous fictional character D'Artagnan from The Three Musketeers. Whether fully proven or partly legend, this connection adds a romantic and almost storybook feeling to the home, making it more than just a residence, but a place filled with history and imagination. Beyond family and home, he is also known for his impressive language skills. He speaks 5 different languages fluently: Dutch, English, German, French, and Spanish. This ability has not only helped him communicate easily across Europe and beyond, but it has also played an important role in building international connections in his career. Being multilingual allows him to move comfortably between different cultures, understand people more deeply, and share his work with a wider audience without barriers. Over the years, his success in music, performance, and international touring has also brought financial reward. As of 2016, his net worth was estimated at around 25 million euros. This wealth reflects decades of dedication, travel, performances, and the global popularity of his work. However, his story is not only about money or success, but also about passion, family, culture, and a lifelong connection to music and people. When all these parts are put together, his marriage to an educator and writer, his sons continuing the artistic legacy, his life in a historic castle filled with stories, his ability to speak multiple languages, and his financial success, it paints a picture of a life that is both accomplished and richly layered. It is a life shaped not only by achievement, but also by culture, history, and meaningful human connections. What legacy is Andre Rieu leaving for the next generations? How much wealth is his fortune worth? Let's take a look at Andre Rieu's treasure, and the legacy money can never measure. A fortune beyond money. When people hear the phrase hidden fortune, their minds often jump straight to money. They think of large bank accounts, expensive houses, luxury cars, rare art pieces, and valuable collections stored away from public view. In the case of Andre Rieu, that picture is not wrong. He truly has built a life surrounded by great material success. Over many decades, Andre Rieu has gathered remarkable wealth through his work as a world-famous violinist and orchestra leader. He owns historic castles that look like something out of a storybook. He has access to rare and priceless violins that carry centuries of musical history. He has invested in real estate and built successful businesses connected to his musical career. And of course, he has earned millions through his global concerts, where audiences from different countries gather to experience his magical performances. From the outside, it would be easy to assume that this is the full story of his success. But those who are close to him, and those who have followed his journey more deeply, understand something much more meaningful. His real wealth is not something that can be counted in euros or stored in a bank. It lives in people. It lives in the thousands of musicians whose lives changed because they had the chance to perform with him, travel the world, and grow in their craft under his leadership. Many of them found not just a job, but a lifelong passion and purpose through his orchestra. It also lives in the millions of audience members who were touched by his music. People who came to his concerts carrying stress, sadness, loneliness, or exhaustion often left with something lighter in their hearts. Some found joy again after difficult times, Others rediscovered hope they thought they had lost. Many simply found a space where they could smile, sing, and feel alive again. It lives in the unforgettable evenings he created across the world. Concert halls filled with laughter, tears, dancing, and applause. Strangers sitting next to each other would suddenly feel connected, sharing the same emotions through the power of music. For a few hours, differences disappeared, and people simply enjoyed being human together. This is why news and reflections about his legacy often bring such strong emotions to his family and followers. Because when they think about Andre Rieu, they are not only thinking about wealth or fame, they are thinking about impact. They are thinking about lives touched in quiet but powerful ways. Andre Rieu did not only build a fortune in the usual sense, he built something far more lasting. He built memories that people carry in their hearts. He built dreams for young musicians who saw what was possible. He built happiness in places where it was needed most. After decades of sharing classical music in a way that feels alive, warm, and welcoming, the Waltz King has shown something simple but powerful. True greatness is not only about what you own, but about what you give. Material wealth may attract attention and admiration. It may impress people for a time. But the kind of wealth that truly lasts is the kind that reaches the heart. And in the end, that may be Andre Rieu's most beautiful and lasting masterpiece. Not just the music he played, but the joy he left behind in the world. So, what do you think about Andre Rieu's recent experience? Do you really think things might get better for him soon? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.